This is LCE Graphics. You can reach us at 1-800-634-2176 or on the web at lcegraphics.com. This is training video number 52, and it is for the Horizon SPF10 and SPF10 plus 2. The 10 plus 2, the two differences between the machines is mostly electronics, but most of the mechanical things are pretty much the same. So we call this our Get Acquainted video, or getting acquainted with the Horizon SPF10 and 10 plus 2. And the SPF11 is very similar as well, but we'll cover that on a different video. But first we're going to start out with all the electronic controls. First of all, you have your emergency stop button. You push it in, it shuts the whole system down, and it should shut the collator off too while it's running. Pull it back out and start back up. This is your conveyor operating time. On Horizons, on these systems, the conveyor, whether it's mounted on the trimmer or on the booklet maker, is powered by the booklet maker. So each time the booklet maker folds a booklet, it advances the trimmer. So you adjust how much the trimmer advances each time, or the trimmer conveyor, each time the folder is activated. This button here is a single fold. What that is, if you've got a set in the booklet maker and you want to fold it, you push that button and it activates the folder. The one next to that, this is your power indicator. This is your run indicator. When you push the run button and the machine starts running, that indicates it is running. So you can always look at it. It's pretty quiet and, you know, noisy place. By the time the machine's running and everything, you might overlook that that's on, so you can glance over there and see the green light. This one is a jam indicator. If a set enters the booklet maker but does not come out, that jam light will come on. If the jam light's on, the collator won't start back up. So if your collator won't start back up, you want to immediately look down here and see where your issue might be. This is your off button, and what that does is turns the booklet maker off. Similar to the stop button, except when you hit the stop button, it locks everything down, well, you can't run it. It's like if you're working on the machine or you got your hands down in there and you don't want to accidentally bump the you push that button and nothing will happen. That's just a safety button. Your next switch is your single jog. Now what that does is when you push the button, it moves the joggers in. Your back jogger in, side jogger in. Now what that is for your initial setup. When you initially set the machine up, you put your set in there and you set it so that the jogger is nice and tight and snug. And you can also check anytime during the run. Now keep in mind that this system won't work unless the jogger is, unless the collator's not running. If you hit the run button and you hit that, it won't work. That's only for initial setup. Now the next button is your stitch, jog, bypass. Stitch means you want to staple, fold, and trim. Jog means you just want to jog it and send it into the folder. Pass means you just want it to pass through the stitcher and just fold the sheet, like if you're bypassing, like not stitching, for example. So you have to have it up in the stitch mode. Now stitching interval, what that does is it adjusts the cycle time between this one stitch and the next. It also controls the tower. So if you slow that down, it slows the tower down as well. And also you can turn it down here to single jog mode, where instead of the jogger running constantly like that, it just comes up once and pushes. Depending on your application. That one's a little bit faster when you put it in single jog mode, but most people leave it in the right about in the position I've got it set there. This is your toggle switch, and when you turn that on, it turns on your conveyor. I prefer to leave the conveyor running all the time. It really works the best that way. That's what that switch is there for. And then the next one is your single stitch. Like if you just want to stitch one set through, you push your single stitch, and you use that mainly when you're setting the machine up and you want to send a set down the road. This knob here moves your stitch head back and forth. You can see you have a scale here, and that scale shows what position your stitch is at. Right now we're doing 11 by 17, so it would be normal to see the stitch head at around 8.5 or really close to there. So if you're running 11-inch, you have it at 5.5. Down here at the bottom you have a lock for the stitch head. What that does is it locks the stitch head in position so it can't roll back and forth. This is your main power button, and this is your control for your fast and slow on your delivery. We usually leave it to the right. That's your rabbit and your turtle, the same as over here. Over here is where the top plug is where your inserter or your feeder plugs in at. And then you have your umbilical cord that comes out of the machine that plugs into the tower of the collator. Always remember one thing. Please be sure that these plugs are unplugged and disconnected when you go to move these attachments apart. I can't tell you how much money and time has been spent by our customers on buying new umbilical connectors, and they are expensive. So keep that in mind. Also, you never ever want to plug anything in while the towers are turned on. Always make sure your power is turned off on everything before you start trying to plug or unplug any of these connectors. Now, over here on the bottom you have an adjustment, and this is your knife. Your fold knife height. You can go up or down. You know, if you need a little bit more pressure to push the booklet through, you can raise it. This is the adjustment for your folder stopper, which is the plate that your stitch set hits up against and stops. This adjusts the position. It's set at 8.5 inches, just like the stitch head is set at. You have, see, 9 inches, 6, 7, 8.5. All right. This one here adjusts the stopper width, with or without fold. And what that does, when you raise that up, it lets the set go completely through the folder and bypass it. This locks down the position of your stop. If you need to make an adjustment, you loosen this, and then you can turn your position, like to adjust where your fold is. And this one here is the indicator to show where your fold pressure. You can see this lever here that goes up and down. Up is more, down is less. So if you go in position 1, that's for thin booklets, like, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sheets, something like that. When you start getting up over 6 signatures, 6 sheets of 60-pound offset, you go to the second one, and then the third one. If you're not sure, and it's a really thick booklet, you want to start out at the bottom and work your way up, because you know you don't want to put too much stress on it, because if you have it too tight, it takes a real pounding and, you know, can damage your bushings and bearings over time. And if it's too open, when you're running a thinner booklet, of course the booklet will just sit there and not come out. And one thing you have to keep in mind on this collator, if you ever jam a booklet inside this folder, please don't do what some folks have done and start yanking and jerking and freaking out, because it really doesn't help you. The best thing you can do is open the fold roller pressure up here, remove this plate right here, which has got 2 bolts holding it in, and see what you can do to get it out. And if you can't move it out at that point, you can also remove this side cover here, and you can reach in there, and there's a pulley you can turn to kind of turn the machine manually. And these things are really, really important, because so much damage is done sometimes. You know, it's frustrating when you're running a job, and things will happen. You know, booklets will jam, and there's nothing you can do about it. It happens. But just take your time and carefully remove the set, because the damage you can do is, you know, very expensive to repair. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is your folder stopper roller. Now, what that does, it sits up against the edge of the booklet. You can picture your booklet in here, and what that does is transfers the booklet and brings it all the way up against the stops and holds it there. Then underneath there, you'll see right in the center of your screen, these are your back register fingers. What they do is, when the fold, just before the fold happens, they come forward and push the booklet and hold it against the stops as the booklet maker blade comes up. And then here you've got your exit roller. This little roller rides on your belt, and that's what transfers the set from the stitcher into the folder. When the stitcher exits the booklet, it hits this roller, travels it forward into the fold roller conveyor, and that's how it transfers back and forth. Also, you have your adjustment here. Now, when you loosen these, what this does is move the conveyor, the stopper for the stitcher back and forth, and this is how you set your position. If you'll notice over here, I have a line. I do this to all the machines that we work on. We put little lines right in here with Sharpies, and then we put a line with a Sharpie right there on the bracket itself, and then we mark it for all of our standard size, all of your standard sizes, you know, 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, by 14, and all the sets that you run often. That way it makes it quick. You just move it to that position, boom, you're done. It's just a quick reference to show you how to do it. Now, over here on your stitcher head, you have your stitch wire spools. which are held in by these retainers. And what they do is just apply a slight amount of pressure to the spool so they don't overspin. You don't want too much pressure because otherwise it can restrict the wire flow into the stitcher. Now over here to the front you have your eject roller, which is this plastic roller right here in the middle. I'm pointing to right now, and that's timed electronically to come down and eject your booklet after it's stapled. This is your entry belt. This side jogger here is your side jogger for to jog the side, and this patter here, which I'm going to start running now. Oh, safety cover. You see how the back jogger pads? When you turn it off and you put it on single jog, that pattern will only come forward when the booklet's in it. I prefer to use this set. Now these are your entry rollers. They have adjustable weights on them, you know, like if you're running heavy coated paper, you want them further to the front, or heavy thick booklets. If you're running a light small booklet, you might want to run the pressure back. That's what these weights do, and sliding up and down. These little nuts, screws here, thumb screws, they help position left and right. Your exit roller down here, if you'll notice, is segmented. You have little segments in between. So you have to make sure that your exit roller on the top is sitting on top of a rubber segment, otherwise you're going to have problems feeding. Also here you have your these little guides, these little slides that go back and forth. On 11 by 17, you want to have this glide right here close to your stopper, because what happens if you're running a flimsy sheet, sometimes your sheet will buckle down and it'll go under your stop. So it's always important to have one of those runners there on 11 by 17. You have one here and one there. And then of course you have these other guides like this one here that's bolted in, and what that guide does, it helps keep that corner from flying up when the set gets ejected out of the booklet maker. And so, you know, that's a little tool, little gizmos that you get with the unit that help you handle the paper. And it's not at all uncommon to see things like this on these collators. We put these on here. These are really lifesavers, these little tie wraps. We're going to send you some tie wraps with every machine that we ship from us, but if we don't get one from us, you can go and buy you some heavy tie wraps, long ones, and you put them in there. What that does, it just helps guide the sheet down, because when the sheets come out of these machines, air can get underneath them. You know, in every print shop you have airflow, you're not even aware of it. Air conditioner cuts on, starts blowing air, bounces off the booklet maker, goes up underneath there, and then the next thing you know, you got jamming problems. So that's what those little straps can help you with. They're just little you know, ideas that operators have come up with that we've adapted. And well, that completes our Get Acquainted with your booklet maker video. Hope you find this helpful. Thank you.